America is back.
President-elect Joe Biden introduced his new foreign policy and national security team to the world on Tuesday, saying the United States was ready to lead again on the global stage.
In fact, in calls from world leaders that I've had, about 18 of them or 20 so far, I'm not sure the exact number, in the weeks since we won the election, I've been struck by how much they're looking forward to the United States reasserting its historic role as a global leader.
With his team standing behind him, Biden said they would shed what he called old thinking and unchanged habits in their approach to foreign relations.
For example, we're going to have the first woman lead the intelligence community, the first Latino and immigrant to lead the Department of Homeland Security, and a groundbreaking diplomat at the United Nations.
Each of Biden's nominees, who were masked when not speaking, delivered remarks at the same podium, an aide wiping it down between each statement.
I want to say to you, America is back. Multilateralism is back. Diplomacy is back.
Comments from Biden's pick for U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, reinforced Biden's intention to steer the country away from President Donald Trump's America First nationalism,
America First,
his antagonistic approach to NATO alliances, and abandonment of international agreements.
Paris Climate Accord.
Not long after Biden's event, Trump hosted one of the few annual ceremonies he has left as president, the pardoning of a turkey ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday.
Corn, I hereby grant you a full pardon.
Behind the scenes, Trump has been waging a losing legal battle to try to overturn Biden's victory, falsely claiming the election was stolen from him. Trump has said he will never concede the election, but his administration on Monday finally gave the green light for the formal transfer of power to begin.
I'm pleased to have received the ascertainment from GSA.
Trump's critics said the nearly 3-week delay undermined the incoming administration's ability to take on the many challenges the country faces.
To build back better.
Mocked-up banknotes are the latest creation by Thai anti-government protesters. They are branded with rubber ducks, an emblem of the demonstrations. Protesters made calls for the king to give up control of the royal fortune on Wednesday. The crown assets are estimated to be worth more than $30 billion. Mai is a protester.
At first, we intended for the banknotes to be coupons for protesters to use and buy food at the demonstration, but people now want them as souvenirs instead. We also chose the duck on the banknotes because it became a symbol in the fight, protecting us.
The demonstration on Wednesday came a day after police summoned many of the best-known protest leaders on charges of insulting the monarchy, which can mean up to 15 years in prison. It had originally been scheduled at the Crown Property Bureau, which manages the royal assets. But after police built siege barricades of shipping containers and razor wire, the venue was moved to the headquarters of the Siam Commercial Bank. The king holds 23% of the bank's stake, making him the biggest shareholder. 28-year-old protester known by the nickname Gift said there were too many unanswered questions about the monarchy.
We could not scrutinise anything about the monarchy. There were many questions left unanswered, whether it would be the monarch's assets or the taxes that they used. The people were left with so many unanswered questions.
The palace has made no comment since the protest began, but when the king was asked about the protesters recently, he said they were, quote, loved all the same. Since July, protesters have been calling for the removal of Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, a former junta leader. The protesters also seek to make the king more accountable under the constitution.
News of AstraZeneca's latest breakthrough in the search for a coronavirus vaccine has been met with optimism by some in Nairobi.
Yeah, there's hope.
Kenya is one of 2 African countries to take part in the trial of the vaccine, developed by the pharmaceutical multinational and Oxford University. Businessman Samuel Uomo wants Africans to now benefit.
Urge our leaders, because it's up to the leaders to engage those who've come up with the vaccine and to see how they can roll it up to Africans.
But immunizing the world's poorest continent remains a challenge. Researchers in the UK on Monday said the AstraZeneca vaccine could be up to 90% effective at preventing COVID-19. It's also cheaper than those developed by Pfizer and Moderna, and can be stored in normal fridges, which could potentially speed up distribution, especially in poorer countries.
Some of these challenges that governments might have.
But Ob Cisse, a senior advisor on COVID-19 strategy with the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change, said the first challenge governments will have is getting their hands on the vaccine.
The next thing is actually getting the vaccine distributed to your country. And then thirdly, it's setting up the logistics and distribution channels and storage and other things within your own country. So it's a huge undertaking, and African policymakers would do well to be moving fast now, at least.
COVAX, a program led by the World Health Organization and the Gavi Vaccine Group, has signed a provisional agreement to buy AstraZeneca's vaccine. The initiative is aimed at pooling funds from wealthier nations and non-profits to buy and distribute vaccines for poorer countries. It has raised $2 billion, and it's expected, though not certain, that less wealthy countries in Africa and Southeast Asia will receive the vaccines at low or no cost under the program in 2021.
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has warned the international community to stay out of his country's internal affairs as the deadline for regional forces in Tigray to surrender approaches. Hundreds have been killed since fighting began on November 4, and more than 41,000 have escaped the violence to Sudan. Tanks and artillery reportedly surround Tigray's capital, where Abiy is threatening a final push if the region's ruling party TPLF does not lay down its arms by Wednesday evening. 3 former African presidents are due to arrive in Addis Ababa as envoys from the African Union, and the European Union's foreign policy chief warned that the conflict is destabilizing the wider region. There are a chorus of international voices that have been urging restraint and mediation. But in a statement on Wednesday, Abiy said that while Ethiopia welcomes well-meaning concerns of our friends, the country rejects what he called unwelcome and unlawful interference in our internal affairs.
A decisive few days lie ahead when it comes to Brexit. That was the assessment from European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen on Wednesday. Britain and the EU are in a last-ditch effort to agree terms to preserve trade flowing without tariffs or quotas from the start of 2021. That's when London's transition out of the European Union is supposed to be completed.
The European Union is well prepared for a no-deal scenario, but of course we prefer to have an agreement. I fully trust in the skillful steer of our chief negotiator, Michel Barnier. But one thing is clear. Whatever the outcome, there has to be, and there will be, a clear difference between being a full member of the Union and being just a valued partner.
The head of the EU executive told the European Parliament that major gaps could still lead to a rough split in trade with Britain past December the 31st, an eventuality, she said, the bloc was prepared for.
With very little time ahead of us, we will do all in our power to reach an agreement. We're ready to be creative, but we are not ready to put into question the integrity of the single market.
It's just 5 weeks before current EU-UK trading rules expire following Brexit. Von der Leyen added that the contentious issues remain dividing up fishing quotas and agreeing access to waters, as well as finding ways to settle future disputes and ensuring economic fair play for companies. On Tuesday, US President-elect Joe Biden also got involved, saying he did not want to see a guarded border between Ireland and the United Kingdom, adding that he had discussed the matter with the British Prime Minister and other European leaders.
Soccer World Cup winner and one of the sport's biggest icons, Diego Maradona, died on Wednesday. He suffered a heart attack at his home in the suburbs of Buenos Aires, less than a month after his 60th birthday and just weeks after undergoing brain surgery. Maradona is described by many as the best ever soccer player. His greatest achievement came at the 1986 World Cup, where he was instrumental in Argentina's eventual victory. In the quarter-final against England, he scored 2 of the most famous goals of all time. First came the notorious Hand of God, where he punched the ball into the net, followed by a sublime solo dribbling effort past most of the opposition before hitting the target. But his career also suffered tremendous lows. starting with defeat in the final of the 1990 World Cup. That was followed by a failed drug test at the tournament 4 years later in the United States, when Maradona was ultimately sent home in disgrace. Years of drug use, overeating and alcoholism punctured his stellar career. He nearly died of a cocaine-induced heart failure in 2000. Maradona's club career saw him win trophies in his native Argentina with Boca Juniors, in Spain with Barcelona, and most famously in Italy with Napoli, where he is still held in great affection. He also edged out his great Brazilian rival Pelé to be named FIFA's Player of the Century.
Rummaging through heaps of trash, elephants in eastern Sri Lanka look for pieces of wilted vegetable to eat. They're unaware that the plastic they sometimes pick up might kill them. A landfill site in the town of Ampara was created about a decade ago and is one of 3 garbage areas located next to a wildlife protection zone. The smell draws in dozens of elephants and other wild animals every day. P.H. Kumera of the Galoya Farmers Union says the rubbish is fatal for them.
There is no proper plan or a system for this. Local government institutions have established landfills on the border of the wildlife protection zones. Once that is done, the wild elephants and other wild animals who eat the rubbish die.
The government is digging trenches around the dump to ward away the elephants. They also want to keep the large animals from the town, where they've been known to destroy crops, property and even people. It's a shaky coexistence between the villagers and the wild animals. Local environmental groups say 361 elephants died last year, mostly because of humans. While human deaths from elephants range from 20 to 80 a year, there are around 7,500 wild elephants in Sri Lanka.